Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the Openly Occultic Book Club. We're reading the definitive book of human design written by Linda Bunnell and authorized by the founder of human design or the founder of the human design system. His name is Ra Uru Hu. He helped with this book before he passed away, so sadly he has left us. What we go on, we continue. On our last few episodes, we've been reading section 9, going over some sample charts. Today, we're going to jump into section 10, where we'll get a deeper exploration on the hexagram line descriptions. Right? The hexagram line descriptions, gates, hexagrams, these words are synonymous in human design. We're talking about the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching. So, as we dive into this section, we'll read a short summary of each gate, and I think there's 64 gates. We'll read a quick summary of each gate, and then we'll go over the 6 lines, because there's actually 6 different or unique energies that all go with that gate, right? So you have a gate, like gate 1, for instance, but you'll also have like 6 subtly different influences that go with that energy. So we'll dive into that. This is exciting conversation for me. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to share the video with all your friends, your family, anybody who's into astrology, of course, as the human design system is a synthesis of astrology and the I Ching and some more stuff. We talk about it all the time. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, here we are. We're on section 10, hexagram line descriptions, a deeper exploration. Let's jump into it. Of course, the hexagrams are akin to the I Ching, right? Let's see, section 10, hexagram line descriptions. The Rave I Ching or I Ching, completed in December 1989 by Ra Uru Hu, is a synthesis of the descriptions for each hexagram or gate and a list of the incarnation crosses associated with it, and a description of the 6 lines associated with each gate. There are 64 hexagrams and 384 lines in the Rave I Ching. For the purposes of this book, this section lists only the 384 lines. For a copy of the Rave I Ching or I Ching, please visit one of the authorized human design national organizations. A listing can be found in section 11. 375 of the lines express a polarity of potential experiences, which is termed either an exaltation or a detriment, and is indicated by the black triangle symbol for exaltation or the white triangle symbol for detriment. These terms, when used in standard astrology, indicate good, exaltation, and bad, detriment. But the human design system does not make this moral distinction. In human design, these terms simply denote the this and that polarity. Okay? So it's just saying it's just noting the polarity, the this and that. We're not going to add words like good or exhaustion in so many words, meaning good or bad to these things. So we'll start there, right? A person's design is the sum of its parts. And when looking at a specific component, such as a line, we need to consider it in relationship to the entire chart. If you pull just one detail out to examine it without considering the whole of the rest of the design, including type, strategy, authority, profile, cross, centers, channels, and gates, you take it out of context. To truly understand a line, always step back and see it in the context of the bigger picture, the holistic view. Yes. What you will find as you begin to study charts is that there is a genetic continuity, an unfolding pattern. The pieces have a theme that relate back to the full design, and you begin to see a theme for the life. You also begin to see the paradox in the life and all of its complexities. Hmm. It takes time to understand lines. They may seem abstract or like riddles or poetry, just as the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes, can take a lifetime to understand. The lines take time to digest in the context of the entire chart. It's best to start with your own chart and spend time with, even meditate on, your own lines over time. Even the recognitions that you may have in the moment about a line or the way the description resonates in you will evolve as you journey deeper and deeper into your own experiment with living your design, right? So I need to pull up my chart and get ready as we dive into these lines for these gates. But yes, your perception will evolve as you continue on your journey, going deeper and deeper into your experiment, um, as you grow in wisdom and knowledge, as you age, as you become more conscious and aware and awakened. Your perspective on these things will change over time. So, I realized that as I was reading my natal chart back in the day. I would read it maybe once a year. I was really going for twice a year. So I would read it twice a year, but I kind of slacked off after a few years and I would definitely come back to it at least once a year. But my perspective over time changed, right? So keep that in mind to come back to your body graph chart. Look over all this information again, you know, next year or the year after that, because you'll have made changes in your perspective over that time, and you'll see something different. Something will stand out. You'll be like, oh, or something will resonate even more, and you'll be like, yes, you know. So you'll find your lines next to your gates in the red design and black personality columns on your chart. For example, gate 50.1 is gate 50, line 1, right? Hold on, let me pull up my chart as an example for us. All right. So as we can see on my personality side, my sun sign is in gate 15, line 1. So that's how we're going to go ahead and deal with this when it comes to understanding how to read the chart and the lines to be able to understand and see it and know what we're talking about. We got to remember on the both the personality and the design side, it'll tell you the gates and your astrological symbols are right there next to it, as you can see. So it'll tell you the gate that each astrological sign is in, but then after that dot, that decimal point, it'll let you know which line. Okay. So here we are. Look for your lines by gate in this section and read both descriptions, exhaustion, and detriment to get a sense of the meaning of the lines in your design. Pay attention to both the name of the line and a description, as each contain valuable information about the line. Additionally, the description for line 1 in each hexagram will give you the foundational understanding of that specific gate. Some lines, not all, have a one sentence introductory description in italics. When there is a description in italics, it means that this is a theme that you have an opportunity to learn about and potentially grow into. If there's no description in italics, then this characteristic is a given. It's hardwired into your design. Okay? So that's the little difference there. Italics means you have an opportunity here to learn and maybe grow into something. But if it's not in italics, uh, this is something that's hardwired into your design. You do it automatically, it's in your DNA, right? The design side is talking about the DNA. So this is in your cells, right? Very interesting stuff, this human design system. The information is compelling, definitely. Let's go on. It says within the exhaustion and detriment descriptions, the first sentence in regular type is the original meaning as received by Ra. Now remember, Ra says that a voice talked to him for 8, 9 days, and he transcribed all this information from the voice, and that's where he got all this information for the human design system. So, with that being said, no more or less, it says the first sentence in regular type is the original meaning as received by Ra. The second sentence in bold is a subsequent description that Ra synthesized years later to further clarify the meaning of the lines. You'll also see that there are planet glyphs associated with the lines. They're listed next to them. Certain planets can fix a line in either exhaustion or detriment. If you look at your own chart, you'll see that there are exhaustions and detriments displayed next to some of the gates and lines. In some cases, you may find a chart that has no fixing, no exhaustion, or detriment. When we speak of exhaustion and detriment in the context of fixing in a chart, that's simply another way of saying this and that. There is no judgment here of good or bad. The detriments in your design are also perfect for you in the continuity of your overall design. In fact, it's generally in the detriments that we have the greatest opportunity to learn. Composite charts, your design combined with another, and transits, planets moving through our designs over time, can also fix our lines. There's also fixing that can take place through the harmonic gate at the other end of a channel. These areas are complex and best suited for an advanced discussion at another time. Now start by looking up each of your gates and lines in this section. Then read the description line in italics if there is one, and contemplate the lesson that you're here to learn. Read the line descriptions themselves and feel the flow of energy that moves from the exhaustion to the detriment. See what recognitions that you have. If you have an exhaustion in your chart, then read the exalted line knowing that this energy will be emphasized in your design. If you have a detriment, then read the detriment for its emphasis in your design. If you have a juxtaposition, a star-shaped symbol representing both the exaltation and detriment, then both descriptions apply, right? Okay, so we can see that a star-shaped symbol down here for the juxtaposition. Listen, we're looking at some of these glyphs and symbols that we can see in the Rave I Ching, right? You see the sun, you see the earth, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, right? Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, exhaustion, detriment, and the star symbol for juxtaposition, meaning that you have both the exhaustion and detriment. But all of it is an emphasis on your design. So, and it's all needed, right? We're here to talk. We're talking about wholeness and balance. Okay, nothing that exists doesn't matter. It all matters. We all matter. Okay, so let's jump into it, right? I think we'll read about 20 gates in this first video. I'll break down section 3 into 3 videos. So there's 64 gates. I'll break it down into 3 videos so that we can quickly get to the gates or gate that matters to us, right? We don't have to sit through a whole video. So on all the gates, right? All right, so gate 1 is the creative self-expression. It's creation as a primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. I need to look at my chart and see if I have gate 1, right? Let's see. No, but I do have gate 8. I see gate 1 in the G center, right? In the top of the cluster of 3 right there. So there's that. But let's see. We'll get back into the book. So line 6 on gate one, we'll stop at the top. We'll start at the top, right? Um, because remember, you have the upper and lower trigram, right? And line 6, when you're looking at them, this top line is line 6 and the bottom line is line 1. So that's the order in which it's shown here, and we'll go for it. I see a earth symbol over there to the all the way to the left, at the beginning of this line 6, objectivity, right? And the Pluto symbol. Um, we see the detriment and the exalting, right? Excuse me. Let's see, it says clear assessment of creative value. So if you have gate one, but line 6, you have clear assessment of creative value, clarity in creative expression. And then also there's the risk that subjective appraisal will result in disappointment and creative frustration. Subjectivity and self expression that may lead to creative frustration, right? So that's that's more specific creative energy, right? We get more specific in these lines, and this is what astrology on its own is lacking, right? Because well, in uh astrology, you get very specific. You can get very, very specific with it. Um, Particularly because in each sign there's like three unique energies for that one, right? So there's like three unique energies that goes with me being a Gemini, depending on the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and the end of the end of the sign, zodiac sign, the degrees and all that. So you have that, and it gets more specific. But here, as we can see, um, you have six unique creative energies, unique to themselves and how to express this creativity, right? So line 6 is objectivity. Line 5 is the energy to attract society. How about that? Mars exalted for its powerful ego endurance, the power and drive to stay with the creative process. And then for the uh what are we calling it? Exaltation and detriment. For the detriment, for line 5 is Uranus in detriment, where eccentricity, right? Eccentricity can handicap endurance, right? You're a little too eccentric, and that can handicap endurance. Um, Eccentricity that, though attractive, will limit the drive. hmm You have line 4, the earth sign is exalted. Line 4 is aloneness as the medium of creativity, right? You just have all these six various unique energies to that creative gate of self-expression, gate 1. So line 4 is aloneness as the medium of creativity. It's the tension of inner light. You have the earth sign, the earth exalted as the symbol of personal perspective, manifested outside of influence, where the potential magic of inspiration is diluted. Creativity that must develop outside of influence, right? Then you have Jupiter, and it says this is detriment, right? Where the potential magic of inspiration is diluted. The need to influence that abandons aloneness and limits creativity. Mm. Too caught up in trying to be an influencer that you abandon the alone time, and now you're not getting your creative pulses, and you're gonna get frustrated, right? So that's now that you know gate ones with line 4. Now you know uh you definitely need to be alone. That's where your creativity is coming from. This is great information. I love learning this stuff. I have a very focused, linear mind, and I just like hearing this type of stuff. Line 3 is the energy to sustain creative work. The energy to sustain creative work. You have Mars exalted as the symbol of the profound need for self expression, the deep need for self expression. And then you have material forces, right? Because this is the earth symbol in detriment. Material forces can disrupt creativity and lead to over ambition. Materialism's Materialism disrupts creativity. So there's that energy too. There's the potential for that energy manifesting, right? Just showing all the different ways that this creative energy can manifest itself. And we're calling them by different line names, and there's 6 lines. Line 2 is love is light. Love is light. Venus exalted as a symbol of beauty, the required harmony between established values and ideals that enriches inspiration, self expression conditioned by ideals and values. And then also we see Mars here is, well, it's kind of diluted, right? It's diluting this creative energy. It's in detriment. So you have desires and passions have their place, but not at the expense of creation. Self expression limited by desires and passions. Okay. So this person needs to limit their desires and passions when it comes to their creativity. Hmm. Desires and passions have their place, but not at the expense of creation. Self expression limited by desires and passions. Line 1 is creation is independent of will. Hmm, right? It's actually not necessarily, it's not coming from you, it's coming through you, right? The neutrinos, this energy is coming through you, and creation is independent of will. Hmm. The moon exalted as a symbol of adaptation. Time is everything. Self expression, which has its special timing, right? Then you have the detriment, right? Instability leads to distortion. Here, patience is a virtue and revolution a vice. Creative instability unless there's patience. Gotcha. Wow. Let's go on. Gate 2, the receptive, the direction of the self. Receptivity as the primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. We start with line 6, fixation, unable or unwilling to see the whole picture. With Mercury exalted, less negative, though the intellect becomes absorbed in constant rationalization. Okay? So with Mercury exalted, it's less negative, right? But the intellect becomes absorbed in constant rationalization. Higher knowing that's extremely narrow in its receptivity, right? And then you have the need for security. Here's Saturn, right? Saturn's in detriment. The need for security may distort awareness to its ultimate perversion, destructiveness. The higher self absorbed with the mundane and the need for security. Okay? So the need for security may distort awareness to its ultimate perversion, destructiveness. Hey. So that's that gate 2, line 6, right? Fixation, unable or unwilling to see the whole picture. You have line 5, intelligent application, the strategist with Mercury exalted, reasoned management of resources, higher knowing as a gift for strategy. Nice. I love it. I'm not really good with strategy according to my human design chart, and I guess I don't know. Maybe life is showing that as well. Um, so I'm always in awe and really just kind of like, I like to be able to see that energy playing out. Someone with good strategy. You know what I mean? And in fact, I'm hoping to manifest somebody here in my life with great strategy. Um, because, we're trying to get the word out about occultic things, energy work, holistic lifestyles, wholeness and balance. So if I can find somebody that's good with strategy, that's strong where I'm weak, that'd be great. So if that's you, go ahead and hit me up. leave a comment or reach out to me at info@cedargroveherbs.com. I would love to hear from you. We have line 5, intelligent application. We just learned about how it's exalted. Mercury's exalted in this line. So there's a lot of strategy going on here. Reasoned management of resources. Higher knowing as a gift for strategy, right? It's a gift. If you have this energy, it's built into you. So you have this naturally. The earth is in detriment. So here's the inability to share responsibility or recognize the abilities of others. Higher knowing as an exclusively individual and selfish process. Mm-hmm. We have line 4, secretiveness. More than modesty, here it's written in italics, right? More than modesty, the ability to preserve harmony through discretion, right? The higher goal transcends personal acclaim. The team player acknowledged as the leader, but never the captain, where higher knowing does not have to be expressed to be recognized. Okay? Then you have loose lips sink ships, right? Here's the detriment side of line 4. Loose lips sink ships. The unquenchable fire of the ego engenders enmity, right? Enmity. The inability to keep silent when the opportunity arises for expression. So it can cause problems, though. You'll have to learn to keep silent because all opportunities aren't good opportunities. We'll say that, right? We'll play dominoes and we'll say all money ain't good money, right? So just because the opportunity presents itself, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, right? Okay. Line 3 is patience, the teacher that never stops being a student. And you see Jupiter here. This is luck, expansion. That's what Jupiter brings, right? That's the energy Jupiter comes with. Uh, Expansion in all ways. So here it's exalted. Jupiter's exalted in line 3 here in gate 2, right? Dedication to a lifetime of receptivity with the maturity to accept that the process never ends. When connected permanently to gate 14 through the beat channel, rewards for services rendered. The recognition that receptivity is a lifelong process. Hmm. For the revolutionary, patience is a vice, right? Here's the detriment side of it. We're just talking about polarities. We're not talking about good or bad. We're just talking about this or that, right? So the that, not the this, is for the revolutionary, patience is a vice. Higher knowing that cannot wait and demands expression. So you got to work on the patience. Mm-hmm. For two different reasons, right? The this or that. One reason you have to work on patience is because um, patience is a vice for revolution. It's just hard, you know what I mean? So you're just gonna have to learn it, you know. Higher knowing that can't wait and demands expression. No, you have to have patience and be ready to say and do what needs to be done at the right time. So there's your patience, waiting for the right time. And of course, we're reading about human design, so we know the right time comes about following your strategy and authority. So, but the exalted or the other side of that is this: being a teacher, knowing that they'll never stop being a student. So just be patiently waiting to pass your class and go to the next class, right? There's going to always be something new to learn. So just being patient, knowing that that's the process in life. Um, so I can see it. Can you guys see that? You see what I'm talking about? Line 2 is genius. And in italics, it tells us unconscious and unlearnable alignments of stimulus and response. The natural. Okay? So line 2, genius, is unconscious and unlearnable alignments of stimulus and response, the natural. We see Saturn is exalted here. It's the inner strength to focus and realize, a natural gift for unlearnable knowing. Yes. And then the other side of that, we see Mars is in detriment. It's genius as madness, right? Genius as madness. They always say there's a thin line between being a genius and going mad, going crazy, just losing it. You know too much. Knowledge exclusively as power for the enchantment of the ego, the delusion that knowledge is power, right? That is the this and that of line 2, the genius. We have line 1 here in gate 2. It's intuition, sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy. Here you have Venus exalted, the importance of aesthetics, whether inborn or acquired, higher knowing through aesthetics, right? And then we have Mars in detriment, the assertion of ego in spite of wisdom, the urge for action that will ignore the wisdom of the higher self, right? So again, you don't have to attend every argument or fight that you're invited to. You don't have to go to every debate you're invited to. You don't have to answer every phone call that comes through. Come on, we know that. Every email, we have a do not disturb on our phones. But here Mars is in detriment. You're always ready for a fight, right? Always ready to stand on your square, prove what you know. Here it is, the assertion of ego in spite of wisdom, right? The urge for action that will ignore the wisdom of the higher self. So you're fighting the ego, as we all are. Here we're on gate 3 now. Difficulty at the beginning, ordering. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order, right? The fundamental challenge of initiation, starting something new, is to transcend the confusion, right? Because you're doing something new and now you have to establish order. Line 6 is called surrender. In italics, it says to us, the ultimate maturity to recognize when struggle is futile. So here we have the sun sign exalted. As its light sustains, so life goes. The innate acceptance that ordering is a process, not a problem. And then here, as darkness for our detriment, as darkness overwhelms, life can seem worthless, leading to depression and the sense of hopelessness. The overwhelming power of confused energy can lead to depression. Hold on, guys, because I think that I have uh, gate 3. Now I'm going to pull up this, my human design chart, so we can all see if I do indeed have gate 3. Let's see. So I'm looking here, and if I zoom in on my chart, if I just look closely at the different gates, do I have gate 3? No, I don't. I was just kind of scrolling down on the personality side and the design side. I see I have gate 2 in my Chiron. On my personality side, I have gate 2 on line 4. So let's see. Let me just quickly for my own happiness. Let me go back to line 4 to see what I got, what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with line 4, secretiveness, more than modesty, the ability to preserve harmony through discretion. The higher goal transcends personal acclaim. The team player, acknowledged as the leader, but never the captain, where higher knowing does not have to be expressed to be recognized, right? So I don't have to talk about everything I know. It will be recognized. And then in detriment, loose lips sink ships, right? The unquenchable fire of the ego engenders enmity, the inability to keep silent when the opportunity arises for expression. Okay, so that's what I got going on. A little bit about me. Do any of you have gate 2, line 4? Let me know what gate you guys have. If it's gonna come up in any of these gates, because we're gonna go over gates 1 through 20 in this video. So if it comes up, if you have any of these gates 1 through 20, let me know in the comments, and I'll go ahead and make sure I leave it in the description. Which ones I have, right? We're inclusive here. We're building a community. I like to talk about these things. We're learning, so there's no there's not too much secretiveness, even though we just covered that. So I'll work on it. I am very transparent, but I do see what's being said here, right? There is a exhaustion and a detrimental thing when it comes to being transparent. So the goal is wholeness and balance, right? So there's going to have to be a little secrecy. Gate 3, difficulty at the beginning. We're looking at line 6, surrender. We read that sun sign as its light sustains. Here's the exhaustion, so light goes. The innate acceptance that ordering is a process, not a problem. And then we saw the detriment. As darkness overwhelms, life can seem worthless, leading to depression and the sense of hopelessness. The overwhelming power of confused energy can lead to depression, right? And now we know. So if that's you, I wish you luck in your experiment and in your journey. Fighting depression for sure. We know how it can be. Line 5, victimization. We have Mars being exalted when actions designed to overcome confusion alienate others, right? When actions designed to overcome confusion alienate others. Now, your Mars is exalted, so the courage to stand by one's convictions is there. The unique energy of individuality to withstand confusion. But the earth is in detriment, where victimization leads to appeasement and suffering. Confused energy, which is dominated by the ordering power of others, right? So that's a possibility if you have this line 5. It's victimization, the this and that of victimization, right? It's a polarity. Line 4, charisma, innate quality which attracts valued guidance. Yes. Here we have exalted uh, Neptune. You have physic attunement that magnetizes nurturing, or psychic attunement that magnetizes nurturing, a psychic energy that attracts nourishment and ensures ordering. Mm-hmm. Nice. Mars is in detriment, and this is where the demands of ego lead to rejection. Confused energy that needs nourishment but's generally rejected, right? So that can also happen. So hugs to you guys, right? You need nourishment, but you're generally rejected. Here's a group hug. Here's a virtual hug from me to you, right? Get your moment of feeling noticed, seen, valued, cared for, nourished. There you go. I see you. I see what you're dealing with that line 4, the this and that of that charisma, right? So don't worry about it. Now you're amongst people like us who know about these various types of energy and what comes with it. So hopefully you won't feel as rejected. You'll have a safe spot you can come to get your dose of nourishment, right? Meet us in the CGH chat room, the Openly Occultic Book Club chat room. And then you can get your daily dose if needed, right? You come to your safe spot around people who understand that this is what we got going on here, right? Line 3, survival, the ability to recognize and distinguish between fertile and sterile in their various manifestations. In reproduction, the ability to choose the best mate, an innate knowing of what is sterile and what is fertile, where the mutation is specifically biological and dependent on collaboration with others, right? That's exalted energy you got going on here with this line 3, right? You will survive. And in reproduction, you have a great ability to choose the best mate, right? To make this creation manifest, right? To bring this new person into the world, right? So it's specifically biological, and it's dependent on collaboration with others. In detriment, you have the perverse denial of evolutionary standards, an innate contrariness which refuses to mutate, right? Just this denial in so many ways of evolutionary standards. Interesting. You have line two, immaturity, right? The immature, the unrestrained acceptance of guidance. Now, for Mars, it's exalted. So you have the unrelenting energy for growth, and it will eventually triumph, right? The unrelenting energy for growth will eventually triumph. The energy and potential for individual mutation, right? It's going to happen. Um, this Mars in its exalted form. Now you have Uranus or Neptune. Which one is this? Neptune, Uranus is detriment. So you have internal instability, which both accepts and rejects authority simultaneously. Internal instability, right? It accepts and it rejects authority at the same time. Energy and potential that's conditioned by others, leading to instability. Okay, so that can be a thing as well. That's a possibility of that line two energy. So keep that in mind. And line one for gate three is synthesis. Difficulties can be only overcome when all the pertinent factors have been analyzed. The earth is exalted here. The understanding that confusion is natural and must always exist before clarity can be achieved, right? An innate knowing that order will emerge from confusion. It's going to happen. Just takes time. And you have the patience of the earth, right? So you can wait, you know, right? What happens to the earth? Fires come up, burn things down. There's confusion in the midst because things are being transformed, right? Um, you have tornadoes, you have hurricanes. Yes, the understanding that confusion is natural and must always exist before clarity can be achieved. Uh, but you have, what's this? Mercury in detriment. The reliance on intellect at the expense of intuition can lead to unnecessary frustration, right? Relying on intellect. The inability to know that order will emerge and the drive to find this knowing elsewhere. There's an inability here to knowing that order is going to emerge. So you'll have this drive to find this knowing elsewhere. It's all part of that energy. So now that you know, you can better work on wholeness and balance, right? You can work on your strategy and authority and better navigate that energy. We're on gate four, youthful folly, formalization. The energy to beguile and succeed despite ignorance. Freedom from retribution. Line six, excess. Here you have Mercury exalted, and we're told in italics for line six, repeated and conscious abuse of norms will not escape discipline. Here, the development through experience of techniques to apply self restraint, the potential in a logical process to recognize when the understanding is not complete and have the patience to wait out the process, right? And then you have Mars in detriment, the gall to accept punishment as the price of excess, despite recognizing the incompleteness, a lack of patience with the process. Mm-hmm. Line five is seduction, allowing others to assume responsibility as a shield against potential punishment, right? Allowing others to assume responsibility as a shield against potential punishment. Jupiter is exalted here, so you have unlearned reward and recognition, the potential to succeed through the understanding of others. I'm sorry, unearned, not unlearned, unearned reward and recognition, right? Jupiter's exalted here. So you got a lot of rewards, a lot of luck, a lot of expansion with this line 5 energy. The potential to succeed through the understanding of others is how it goes about, though, through the understanding of others. Um, but you have Pluto in detriment here. So you have a life of lip service to antiquate or to antiquated and unsatisfying values. A life of lip service to antiquated and unsatisfying values. Cynicism. The potential for cynicism that comes with always having to acknowledge the understanding of others, right? Some of those thoughts, ideals, and all that are old, and new stuff. We're waiting for the new things to come, right? They're old and antiquated. We need some new, fresh energy. But here you have a life of lip service to all that stuff, right? So, for some reason, on this that energy, you have some kind of need to always have to acknowledge the understanding of others, even these antiquated ones. Line 4 is the liar, role playing as an art form, the actor, right? Here the sun is exalted. Fantasy protects and nurtures a sense of purpose and reason, no matter how misguided. The potential to find or illustrate the formulas through fantasy. Mm-hmm. Nice. That's like these comic books, right? I think so. It's like these comic books, movies, and all that too, as well. But my first thought was comic books. Um, Superman, just different. Uh, you have the X Men, right? The X Men, good stuff. The potential to find or illustrate the formulas through fantasy, right? Then you have Saturn in detriment. Saturn has a lot to do with discipline, right? Self control. Time always brings humiliation, the potential danger to see the fantasy as fact, right? Line 3, irresponsibility. The general refusal to apply oneself diligently when one can get by with much less effort. Mm-hmm. Where art is more valued than the artist. The potential to enjoy the formulas with no regard to their practical application. Then, in detriment, you have the rationalization of irresponsibility as an act of refocalization, the potential to justify such a process in order to maintain it, right? This is the this and that of irresponsibility. This is line 3, right? In gate 4. We also have acceptance, line 2. The recognition of limitation in oneself and others leads to tolerance and the suspension of judgment, right? The recognition of limitation in yourself and others leads to tolerance and the suspension of judgment. Now, the moon sign here is exalted, the glorifications of feelings, the mother which always pardons the errant child, the potential to recognize that not everyone can understand, right? That's a good trait to have. And here it's being exalted, right? Everybody's not going to get everything at the same time. So a little grace, less judgment, a little mercy, right? Understand the wholeness and balance of it. Everybody's uniquely made, right? So no, just the potential to recognize that not everyone can understand. But then you have Mars in detriment. So here's the assertion of the ego at the expense of others' failures, the potential to take advantage of the lack of understanding in others. Hmm. Hmm. I wonder how many preachers have this gate for line 2. Just something that just popped in my mind. I don't, I just follow my intuition and my eye for detail and my cognitive understanding. Let me stop. But it just came to mind. It just popped in my mind. Pastors. And the this of that of being a pastor as a career. You know what I mean? The this and that of that, right? The potential to recognize that not everyone can understand. This is how you can continuously keep preaching this stuff day in and day out, every week for a whole life. Just knowing that uh, not everyone can understand, and furthermore, not everyone can understand today. Maybe tomorrow somebody else will get it. So I need to preach this same message repetitiously in so many ways, knowing that throughout time, others will get what others didn't get at first, right? So the this and that of preaching, right? And then the that part is the potential to take advantage of the lack of understanding in others, right? And all that comes with that. Do you guys think that? Do you guys also see pastors, preachers in that gate 4 line 2? Is it me, or did that come to mind as well for you? Like a spiritual leader in so many ways. I would guess. Even cult leaders, right? I don't know. Line 1, pleasure. Ultimate pleasure cannot be achieved without perfect timing. Here, the moon sign is also exalted. The instinct to know the right moment and circumstances where pleasure is rewarded and not punished. The potential to recognize that there's a natural timing to the understanding process. And then here you have Earth in detriment. Timing is not a product of discipline. Timing is not a product of discipline. Exaggerated self discipline leads to the abuse of pleasure. Mm. The potential to recognize, but the urge to force the timing. That's what gate 4 line 1s are dealing with, the this and that of that. So their earth sign, the earth is in detriment there in line 1, gate 4. Okay, I see, I see. Now we're on gate 5, waiting, fixed patterns, a fundamental attunement to natural rhythms, waiting as an active state of awareness. You have line 6, yielding. Waiting is never free from pressure, physical or mental, and is often punctuated by the unexpected. Um, Here you have Neptune exalted. Where's that Uranus? Do I need to pull this up? I always get Neptune and Uranus uh, confused. It says the growth of awareness that comes with bending to the universal flow, right? Accepting that in one's fixed rhythm, despite the pressures, growth will be empowered and often through the unexpected. No polarity. Okay. And then the detriment, same sign in detriment. There's no planet in detriment. Okay. There's no planet in detriment here. Each in its way, each planet in its way, given the power of this position, will yield to the inevitable. So no planet in detriment here for gate 5, line 6. Okay. We have line 5, joy, waiting as an aspect of enlightenment. To remain calm as the ultimate aesthetic and thus recognize the inner meaning of being, the power to be calm and to find one's place in the flow. And then Pluto is in detriment here. Joy dismissed as an illusion, waiting as a failure, disillusionment with recognizing one's place in the flow. So you have you're going back and forth between these feelings, these thoughts. So wholeness and balance for sure. I'll say that. Line 4, the hunter, waiting as a guarantee of survival. The creative genius to transform the most passive experience into active achievement. The power to make the best of one's fixed rhythm. I believe this is Uranus, this sign, which means the other one is Neptune. Okay, your sun is in detriment here, though. So the vanity of a personality so strong that unwilling to hide behind a blind threatens its very survival, right? The vanity of a personality so strong, this is the sun sign, it's in detriment. So there's vanity comes with this strength of the sun, right? The vanity of a personality so strong that they're unwilling to hide behind a blind or threatens its very survival. I think there's typos going on here. The drive to deny one's own rhythms with predictable costs, right? Mm-hmm. So pay attention to that, your own rhythms, right? And try not to deny them because these rhythms have predictable costs, right? Okay. Or it's going to be a predictable cost each time you try to deny it. Line 3, compulsiveness. You have Neptune exalted and the moon is in detriment. In italics, we see the fear engendered by the sense of helplessness, the fear engendered by the sense of helplessness resulting in unnecessary stress and activity. Compulsiveness, right? Compulsiveness can be limited in its negative effect through flights of imagination. Though still stressful, they do not lead to action, right? They don't lead to action. A surrender of the limitations of a fixed rhythm through the empowerment of the imagination. But then on the other side, the moon can't sit still. So unable to surrender and at odds with one's own rhythm, right? Unnecessary activity, moving around, running around, spinning your wheels. It's a lot of unnecessary stuff going on there. So that's line 3. Line 2 is inner peace, the ability to ignore the temptation to take premature action. The gift of maintaining composure through idealizing tranquility, right? The power to be comfortable with one's rhythm, one's own rhythm. Inner peace experienced as stagnation can be the detriment of that, though. The drive for power that's constrained by the fixed rhythm. Hmm. Line 1 is perseverance. If the captain must, he goes down with the ship, right? If the captain must, he goes down with the ship. That's the tradition. Mars is exalted here, so courage in the face of adversity, the power to maintain one's own rhythm. The Earth is in detriment here, though. So you have the premature and often disastrous urge to cut one's losses, weakness in maintaining one's rhythm when challenged. Yes, yes. Getting back to gate 6, conflict friction, we have the fundamental design component of progress, the law that growth cannot exist without friction. Line 6 is the peacemaker, the discipline and integrity of a superior force to unilaterally cease conflict to permit surrender and survival of its foe. Okay? Um, Mercury is exalted here. So the highest form of reason is that life is sacred, the emotional power to end conflict tempered by feelings and sensitivity to others. And here we have Venus is in detriment, the peacemaker whose actions are just but whose terms are unacceptable, right? The peacemaker whose actions are just but whose terms are unacceptable. The emotional power to end conflict will only after one's conditions have been satisfied, right? Okay. We have line 5, arbitration, the faith derived from analytical diligence and emotional control that permits a higher authority to judge a conflict. Here you have Venus in exhaustion. So you have harmony furthered through the avoidance of direct conflict. Sensitivity to conflict can lead to the avoidance of intimacy. And the moon is in detriment here, where a party to arbitration sees itself as the best possible judge and will only accept judgment as if it's the victor. Insensitivity to the concerns of others in a conflict, right? So, the little polarity, as we keep seeing time and time again. Line 4 is triumph, a position on natural and unchallengeable power, right? The sun is exalted here, the charity and wisdom that must come with victory and the movement towards new horizons, the power of emotions to dominate a relationship. Okay. Now, Pluto is in detriment here. the conqueror and purger, the lack of emotional control that's destructive in relationships. Line 3 is allegiance, the ability to secure support and create strength out of a weak position. When connected to the harmonic gate 59, mating that results in conception. Hmm. Now I know I have gate 59, and I actually have it on both my design and my personality side, right? Let's pull it up so you guys can see what I got going on here with gate 59. Now, we're reading about gate 6, right? And we're reading about line 3 in gate 6. And it's saying when it's connected to gate 59, mating that results in conception. Um, I do have gate 59 on both my design side. They're on my design side under Jupiter 59.3, so line 3. And then Jupiter on my personality side as well, gate 59, gate 59, line 5. Okay, now I do have my 59 connected to gate 6. If you look on my design side, you'll see in Saturn, I have gate 6, line 1. So we're reading about line 3 for gate 6. My gate 6 is on line 1. So it doesn't apply, but we'll get to it when we get to 59. But as for now, my gate 6 is on line 1, as we can see. So let's get back to the book, see what it has to say about line 1. First, we'll get to line 2, what have you, and we'll get into line 1 for my own personal understanding. So you have for line 3, allegiance. Our Neptune here is exalted. So you have the destruction of old forms through union, either mundane as above, sexual union, or exalted as universalization. The depth of feelings that can enrich union and intimacy, right? The rejection of allegiance as submission to established order. That's that Pluto in detriment side, right? Sensitivity to controls, which may eventually reject intimacy. Mm-hmm. So the rejection of allegiance as submission to established order, right? I see. You have line 2, the gorilla, the ability to maximize an inferior position through timely contact and withdrawal. Aesthetic sensitivity and mental detail can find the weakest point, right? Your Venus is exalted here. The sensitivity to find the weakest point in a conflict and to exploit it emotionally. So you have aesthetic sensitivity and mental detail that can find the weakest point. The Mars is in detriment, so here you have the kamikaze striking but moot, a lack of sensitivity that blunders into conflicts. So it's striking, right? But it's moot. Line 1, here I go. Retreat. The realization that wasting one's resources against overwhelming odds is not courage, but folly. Here you have Pluto exalted, so the power of regeneration that can embrace retreat as a phase and not a failure. The emotional stability to accept conflict, right? So can embrace retreat as a phase, not a failure, right? Then you have Mercury in detriment here, gate 6, line 1. Mercury's in detriment, the inferiority complex, right? Where retreat is experienced as personal weakness, emotional instability in times of conflict. Yeah, I could say that this is true as well. So here's the polarity of retreat, right? The power of regeneration that can embrace retreat as a phase, not a failure. But then on the flip side, the inferiority complex, where retreat is experienced as personal weakness. Yeah, Absolutely. Gate 7, the army. The role of the self in interaction. Mhm. The point of convergence. By design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. For gate 6, for gate 7, line 6, is the administrator. The ability to share and justly appropriate power. Mercury is exalted here. The power to communicate the frameworks of responsibility, the capacity of the self through its role to communicate responsibly. And then you have Uranus in detriment, the bureaucrat whose lust for power eventually destabilizes the organization. The role of the self to seek power through the communication of responsibility. Mm-hmm. Line 5, the general, leadership whose authority must be absolute and is sanctioned by society in times of crisis. Yes, that's that line 5 energy, right? We've talked about this quite a lot while reading this book. We've talked about that 5, that line 5. My best friend, she's a line 5. She's a 5-1, and what is it? Investigator, martyr, hermit. Let me think. Hold on, give me a second. Martyr. Yeah. So line 5 though, the main thing is that they're the general, right? They got that general energy. I call it the Superman energy. They just jump in times of crisis and they need to go ahead and leave, go back to their alone time, not being in everybody else's energy, not trying to stay around after solving a crisis. You have that energy where people project on you that they think you're capable of solving their problem. Now it's on to you to decide whether you're going to solve that person's problem or not, but they definitely look to you to do that. And if you do decide to do it, you jump in, you help out, and then you go ahead and leave, right? Get ready for the next person to call on your help. All right, line 5, the general. The sun is, excuse me, this is Venus, is exalted. So the gift of attracting loyalty necessary in harmonizing the potential of society, right? The gift of attracting loyalty necessary in harmonizing the potential of society. The capacity of the self through its role to attract loyalty. And then you have Uranus in detriment, or is that Neptune? I tell you, I always get the two confused. My Uranus is in my fourth house, so I'm pretty. I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing. I know what the. This is Neptune though that we're looking at. So line 5, Neptune is detriment. The commander isolated from his troops and obsessed with victory at any price. Right. The lack of loyalty when the self insists on isolation. Hmm. Line 4, the abdicator, the willingness to accept the judgment of the people and or the rule of law. The sun is exalted here, the grace and wisdom to step down for the benefit of the whole, the capacity of the self to accept the judgment of others. Okay. And then you have here Uranus, which is in detriment, one who must be forced from power by overwhelming opposition, the refusal of the self to accept the judgment of others. So it's either this or that, right? You either can accept the judgment of others, or if you're in a bad mood or you're in low vibrations, maybe, I don't know. But just on the opposite of this is that, and that is the refusal of the self to accept the judgment of others. So remember, we're going to stay away from the words good and bad when we talk of exalted and in detriment. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about good and bad. We're not really talking about positive and negative. We're really just talking about the polarity of that energy itself. It can go this way or that way. The pendulum will swing either this way or that way, right? So I just don't want you to beat yourself up, judge yourself, thinking you have weakness when it's talking about this detriment when it's not. It's just saying you know, it's just the other side of the coin. Line 2, the Democrat, the ability to lead by serving the will of the majority. The application of universally accepted systems, when connected through the alpha channel to gate 31, influence the potential for widespread and revolutionary effect on society. The capacity of the self to lead when chosen. And then Mercury, though, is uh, in detriment. Elitism and degeneration or denegation. Elitism and denegation by Democrats of democracy. The capacity of the self, once chosen, to feel superior to those who chose them. Right. Wow. Yep. Could understand. We could definitely understand that to be the other side of the coin. Right. Line one, authoritarian. The iron hand, both enlightened and despotic. Venus is exalted here, as in the basic values and rules imposed on a child, the capacity of the self to guide with authority. And then Mercury is, uh, you know the word, it slipped my mind, the distorted intellect that believes only it knows best, the capacity of the self to insist that its authority is best. Right? Mm-hmm. Gate 8, holding together, contribution. The basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. Line 6, communion, the certainty which grows out of harmony. The awareness of patterns that ensures correct timing, the gift of knowing when to contribute or to contribute creatively. Then you have Pluto and detriment, doubt which may engender regret, even in the most ideal circumstances, uncertainty in timing, and regret despite circumstances. Okay? Because we're in gate 8. Now, for me, I have gate 8 on line 5. Let me show you. When I pull up my chart, if you look here on the design side, you will see in my moon, I have gate 8, line 5, right? And gate 8 connects to gate 1. I don't have gate 1 though, but I have gate 8. So I'm not a full channel, and I'm always kind of magnetically being pulled towards other people with gate 1 since I don't have it. I shouldn't feel like I'm incomplete because I don't have that energy. I should learn that since I don't have that, it will behoove me to practice wholeness by, looking out for people with that gate that can complete my channel, right? We can work together. I don't have to be the one coming up with ideas, right? Or whatever it is that gate 1 is, manifesting new creative things. I don't have to be the one to do that. But gate 8 works hand in hand with that energy. So, I really like the idea of this whole thing. You know, is it practical? It's a lot of information, I'll say that. It's definitely going to be a lifestyle change, right? Because now I'm aware of this energy, so I will be searching for people that know that they have gate 1 and maybe don't have gate 8, or maybe they're looking for someone with gate 8. You never know. All these in terms of relationships, business relationships, family, platonic, lovers, friends, all these things, you see, and even your animals, right? Now, I could get an animal in my home that has gate 1. I could get a dog, I could get a cat, right? I could get whatever kind of animal, I could get a goat, right? And it could have gate 1. And maybe when I hang around the aura of this animal, this pet, or I could get a plant, right? I could I could experiment with different plants. I don't know how I would know this information because plants, we don't have birth certificates, do we? I don't know. I don't know. But be that as it may, you get the gist of what I'm saying. I could have a pet in my home that does have gate 1. I have gate 8. So, in their aura, being around them, new ideas from them, passing from the neutrinos through them as the messenger or instrument. Perhaps ideas can pop in my head. You know what I mean? Since I don't have gate one, but if I'm in their aura, I will be picking up on that energy, correct? I don't know. This is all very interesting to me. As it is, I have line five for gate eight, holding together. Line five is called Dharma, first of all. And you run into that term in Indian writings, right? The Hindu devas and Hindu understanding, Buddhism, Dharma. Holding together does not exclude eventual separation. Successful union after a proper term will encourage separation, right? Successful union after a proper term will encourage separation. The fledgling, once mature, is expected to leave the nest. This is right action, which does not harm the integrity of the union. So Jupiter is exalted here. The teacher, contribution as part of a process of sharing that accepts and expects limitation, exemplified in teaching. Cool. Then the sun is detriment here. The parent that can't let go of the child, understanding only that its authority is being challenged. Contribution as an end in itself that neither accepts nor expects limitation, exemplified by the parent that cannot let go of the child. Okay? So that's gate 8, line 5, Dharma. All right, line 4, respect, the gift of naturally recognizing the contributions of others, and particularly the acknowledgement of those who lead by example. Jupiter again is exalted here. The uncompromising drive to assimilate, the drive to contribute and be an example to and for others, right? And Mercury is in detriment here. In a group where limitation is transcended, reason alone cannot predict individual worth. As an example, the acknowledged leader of an athletic team is not necessarily the most talented, a gift for contribution that is not conditioned by limitation. Sounds legit, right? Respect. Okay. Line 3, the phony. The acceptance of the style and not the substance of communal actions, right? The moon is exalted here. The perfected and rarely detected superficial intimacy. Hmm. The example as an expression through style, not substance. Okay. So perfected, it's a perfected and rarely detected superficial intimacy. Now, Saturn is in detriment here. So, what that brings with it is a shallowness that underestimates others and overestimates its own ability to continue its deception without detection, right? An over reliance and unfounded confidence in style. Hmm. So, these are the this and that of the phony. Line 3 in gate 8. Okay, line 2, service. The sun is exalted here. The highest good, to serve selflessly. The potential to be an example through unselfish expression. And then the earth is in detriment here, where reward is a prerequisite of service. The willingness to be an example for a price. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And then line 1 is honesty, the truthful acceptance of limitation and recognition that it can only be transcended through sharing, right? The truthful acceptance of limitation and recognition that it can only be transcended through sharing. The awareness that the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts, knowing that creative expression must be honestly communicated and shared. Mercury is in detriment, so withdrawal. The fear of losing individuality in a group environment. The design to share creativity at the expense of individuality. Mm, yeah. We have gate 9, the taming power of the small, energy for detail. Potential can be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. Line 6, gratitude. The joy which comes with accepting small rewards for small victories, right? The moon is exalted where the power of the small nourishes right perspective, the power to enjoy the concentrating process. No single step is of value until the journey is over. The energy for expression that can't find joy in the process until it's complete. Mm. So you have that as well when it comes to gratitude, right? The this and the that of gratitude. That's because Pluto is in detriment here. So they don't have any joy until they can't just enjoy the process, right? Trust the process sometimes, just enjoy the process, not till it's done. And then they can be happy and full of gratitude. Okay, so that's how that is. That is how it can be, right? Line 5, faith. The trust that detailed adherence will lead to fulfillment. The trust that detailed adherence will lead to fulfillment. Jupiter is exalted here. Loyalty to the letter of the law, the power to focus and bring value to concentration. And here the earth is in detriment, so like the mystery of God, doubt engendered through the perceived illogic of a process, where the lack of power to concentrate leads to doubt. Mm. Line 4, dedication. Regardless of the pressures or stress, the disciplined attention to detail. So the moon is exalted, right action that leads inevitably to actualization, the power to act on the potential of the focus. Mm-hmm. And then you have Mars in detriment, so you have the persistent urge to want to skip essential steps, right? The drive for action that ignores the details. You have line 3, the straw that breaks the camel's back, the overlooked minor element that always predetermines failure. Here, the earth is exalted, the use of force to temporarily overcome impediments, right? The loss of power through the failure to focus. Mm. And then the sun is in detriment. So you have persistent force that saps vitality and turns molehills into mountains. The power to turn a focus into an obsession. Okay. We have line 2, misery loves company. Pluto is exalted, collaboration with others to temper frustration, the power to collaborate with others in focusing. And then you have Jupiter in detriment. The overwhelming need for expansion can lead to errors in judgment, missed opportunities, and depression. The drive to collaborate that will miss the focus. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, we have line 1 called sensibility, a balanced and responsible approach to problem solving. Pluto, once again, is exalted here, the ability to avoid frustration through the creation of new forms, the power in focusing to create new forms. And then Mercury is detriment here. So, after a hasty and frustrating search, the urge to kick in the door when the key is in your pocket, right? The power to generate that will lose its focus. Mm. Now we're on gate 10. And at this time, it'll be about an hour and a half long video. So I think we might should just go ahead and wrap it up on day 10. Um, I don't know how many parts we'll have to section 10, only because I want to keep them not too long. I don't want videos to be too long. I know we're living in an ADHD world. People are losing their focus. We just were reading about focus. But the time span, attention time span is kind of going out the door on some things. I think we can do an hour and a half of studying and reading though together, even on this deep topic because we're deeper people, right? We're into learning about these things and we know how to focus. We've come far enough in our journey, in our studies, in our learning, in our reading that we actually take the time out to read. But I'm going to limit to like an hour and a half. I don't want any really long videos. It's a lot of information. I want people to be able to jump on YouTube and scroll and kind of get to what they're looking for specifically quicker, right? If this was hours long video, they'd have to find the spot in the video. I don't want to put you through that. So I'll go ahead. I know we said we'll go to 20 on this video, but I'm going to stop on gate 10. We'll pick up next episode on gate 11, right? As it is, gate 10 is called treading, the behavior of the self, the underlying code of behavior which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. Line 6 is the role model, the perfect expression of the norms through action rather than words. Pluto is exalted, the constant example that refocuses the complacent on the basic integrity of set behavior, right? The enduring value of the expression of the self through action rather than words. Now, Saturn is in detriment here. So the hypocrite, do as I say, not as I do type role model energy, right? Behavior restricted to words rather than actions. It's either going to be this or that. You're going to go back and forth between, you're going to oscillate, until you kind of learn balance, right? Try not to stay too long in the detriment energy, right? And on the flip side, probably try not to stay too long in the exalted energy, right? We love positive things. We know that. We like good things, but the world, all life is not just exalted things, just positive things, just good things. I know we're trying to stay away from that word when explaining this, but I'm trying to hammer in a point here, right? Even if it was good and bad, you can't just only always be good. So, first of all, it's an impossible mission. Nobody's perfect. Second of all, if you just had sunny days from here on out, not a cloud in the sky, there wouldn't be balance there. Because now, where does the water come from to water everything, right? We need some fresh water. So you need the overcast, rainy days just as much as you need the sunny days. So don't try not to stay in the exalted state for too long as well. Kind of make sure that you're balanced, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Or if I'm flipping over to that detrimental side energy, hey, curb it, curb your enthusiasm, cut it short. Time for me to jump back on a positive understanding, or what have you. So wholeness and balance. I think wholeness and balance is the goal we should attain to. It's the goal I'm working on attaining to, and hopefully you can see my logic in that. And if you agree with me, let me know. Do you think we should be attaining to wholeness and balance, keeping in mind that the exalted and the detriment is not good and bad, but still, be that as it may, we want wholeness, we want balance of the energies. I don't know. We have the heretic for line 5, direct and overt challenge to norms. Jupiter is exalted. The ability to succeed through the understanding and expression of higher principles, principled behavior which directly challenges tradition. And then you have Mars in detriment. So the burning at the stake, right? The burning at the stake. Behavior which directly challenges behavior and is eventually punished. The heretic, that's what it is. Line 5, the heretic. So you can see if you go back over the video or go back over the line 5s and all these things, you can see you're dealing with that heretic energy. And when you go through line 1s, you're dealing with that investigative energy. Your line 3s, you're dealing with that martyr type energy. Line 6s are dealing with that role model type energy. So even within different gates, you're still going to run across, if you just kind of like meditate on it, like it said at the beginning of this section. If you just kind of go ahead and take time to meditate, process the information, you'll see the patterns and the similarities, right? We're talking about sacred geometry, actually. So, line 5, the Jupiter is exalted. As we said, we have principled behavior which directly challenges tradition, right? You're the heretic. That's that energy, heretical energy. And the Mars is in detriment here. So the burning at the stake. behavior which directly challenges behavior and is eventually punished, right? It could play out that way as well as a heretic. Line 4, the opportunist. The acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be engendered. Transformation that's transcendent to a higher code. The maintaining of behavioral patterns until the right moment and opportunity for transformation. Mercury's in detriment here. So opportunism as a game and or mental exercise, altering one's behavioral patterns in order to take advantage of opportunities. Mm-hmm. So you could be that opportunist, and is a a flip side to it. So you can maintain behavioral patterns until the right moment and opportunity for transformation, or you could alter your behavioral patterns in order to take advantage of opportunities, right? This is the opportunist energy. Line 4. Line 3 is the martyr. The futile rejection of standards based on a just awareness. The earth is exalted here. So the martyr as an enduring example whose behavior is ultimately enshrined, behavior that is ultimately challenged by others. The moon is in detriment, the martyr complex, the active pursuit of martyrdom for personal aggrandizement, right? Behavior as a way to attract attention. Hmm. You have line 2, the hermit, the successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation. Mercury is exalted where mental functions enrich aloneness, independence, or independent behavior through isolation. And then you have Mars is in detriment. So the angry exile, isolation to preserve independent behavior in the face of conditioning, right? There's a method to the madness, but it, on the other side of the hermit coin, you could have the Mercury exalted where mental functions enrich aloneness, right? So, but here in detriment, in the face of conditioning, there's isolation due to preserving independent behavior, right? And last but not least, you have line 1 in gate 10 called modesty, an innate sense to know and accept one's place, a valued sense of purpose no matter what the position, the ability to know one's place and how to accept despite, and how to act despite circumstances, right? And then here you have the moon in detriment, so you have the affliction of oversensitivity and hurt feelings, oversensitivity to external conditioning of behavior. And that's gate 10. And I actually have gate 10, line 1. I'll show you that since that's what we're doing on this episode. If you look over here on my personality side and my earth sign, it's gate 10, line 1. So, keeping that in mind, we just read what energy comes with that with gate 10, line 1, right? It said that exalted, the earth sign is exalted, so a valued sense of purpose no matter what the position, right? A valued sense of purpose no matter what the position, the ability to know one's place and how to act despite circumstances. But then on the flip side is the affliction of oversensitivity and hurt feelings, right? The moon is in detriment. When you think of the moon, you think of emotions, right? Cycles and what have you. So here you have oversensitivity and hurt feelings, oversensitivity to external conditioning of behavior. So, because line 10 is in the G center and is dealing with the behavior of self, gate 10 is in the G center and is dealing with the behavior of self, right? The underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. I do sometimes think about uh, behavior, external behavior, mine or others, and get oversensitive or hurt feelings, overthinking, and things like that. And now I can see here that's the flip side of that modesty, right? That's just the other side of that coin. I try not to stay in that energy for too long. I just tell my mind to shut up. First of all, I'd be like, shut up, let it go, and I try not to think of it. Anything to distract my mind from settling on it, so I do what I have to do. You're going to have to do what you have to do now that you know how your energy works or what energy you're working with. You're going to have to do what you have to do to overcome and have a higher quality of life, right? I think it's possible. I think we can have a higher quality of life knowing the energy that we have, even knowing about all these other energies that we might personally not have, but we can see it in other people. We see it's possible. And so now kind of walking through life less judgmental, having a little bit more grace and mercy because you're walking in the with the knowledge. You're walking with the understanding that these things are possible, so you're not going to shut out somebody who might be oversensitive, right? And have hurt feelings over external conditions. You're like, hey, you might be a line one. You might have gate 10, line one. So now we can have a higher quality of life and make life better for other people as well. What do you guys think? You think human design is an experiment worthy of working on, trying out, incorporating it into your daily life? I sure hope so, because that's actually what I've been doing ever since I heard about it. I've been changing my life. It's been changing my life, and now it's a lifestyle. It changed your way of life. So I'm glad that you guys are here with me. I'm thankful. I hope you're getting something out of this, right? Um, as we know, as a line 10, as a gate 10 line 1, I have a valued sense of purpose no matter what the position, right? So we could just be reading the book club. We could just be on YouTube reading the book club and reading about this energy work through human design. And I feel like I've done my job. You know what I mean? I feel like there's value here. And, somebody else, the lady wrote the book, I didn't write the book. I'm reading the book with you guys. I created the book club. I said this is a book we should read. And I think there's value in that. Just as much value as her writing the book, right? She wrote it. There's value in that as well. And Ra Uruhu, he created the system, right? So everybody plays their part, everybody plays their role. As for me, I can be happy and okay with my value, and I thank you guys for joining me here today. I think that shows that you feel there's value in this information as well. I'm glad I could be your host. And if you're just hearing about human design, I'm glad I'm the person that it came through for you to first hear about this because it's very exciting. I'm by no way an expert on this. I've known about human design about 4 years, maybe. So I'm not an expert. I think maybe 5 years. But regardless, you know, there's something here for everybody. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know. Let other people know about it, and leave a comment. Let us know how's your experiment going. I've been pretty tongue tied today. I've been kind of tired. It's been a lot going on, a lot of work going on, and then of course the holidays. Um, so I've just been lacking sleep, really. So sorry for all the stuttering and stumbling over words. I'm gonna try my hardest to clean it up a little bit, make this a little bit more polished. We do have episodes of the Openly Occultic podcast coming up, working on some two different series. One series on holistic health, bringing stories to the public about holistic healing, right? People who've healed holistically, and of course, knowledge of energy comes into play with that, right? And then a series on AI in healthcare, right? I think it's time for us to really, really pay attention to what's going on with when it comes to this digital world that's progressing, with this technology. I think it's important for us to hear about the dangers as well that could come with this technology. I have quite a few thoughts on it. I'm gonna share my thoughts with you. Not today, not here, not now, but very soon. I'm gonna let you guys know why I'm so concerned about AI in healthcare. So if you're interested, if you like to hear about these type of things, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any uploads, any videos that I drop. Make sure to click the notification bell, right? You don't want to miss it. And until then, I hope you guys have a great weekend, wholeness and balance.